There we go. All right. Who's worked with Alzheimer's patients before?
Me.
Tronda, I think somebody else like Raven, didn't you do it before too?
No, not with Alzheimer's.
So Alzheimer's disease, it's actually named after a dude. Alzheimer, and that's why they call it Alzheimer's disease, okay? And it can be either early onset or late onset. And it is usually a cause of dementia. So everybody says, oh, she's got the dementia. Well, dementia can be, it's kind of used loosely. Nobody really understands what that definition means. Even doctors disagree on it still to this day. But this is an actual disease that after someone's dead, we can look at the brain and diagnose it, because there's certain way the brain looks after this disease affects it. It affects long-term memory. Everybody knows that. So these patients, when you're taking care of them, they really focus on reminiscing and doing things that they used to enjoy when they were younger, because that memory, that long-term memory, is still intact. This is why they can remember their name, but they can't remember where they're at or what was going on this morning or things like that, because that long-term memory is, long-term memory is not affected. So reminiscing, playing music that they used to listen to, decorating their room with stuff that they enjoy, having family members around. I remember one old patient, he liked old cars, and his son would come bring one of his old cars up to him like every Sunday, and they would go for a ride in it. Things like that. That's why they do that stuff, because they get enjoyment out of it still. But this is different from an episode of confusion. Okay, this can be either temporary or it can be long-term. What's some of the things that can cause confusion?
Medication.
Infections.
Infection.
What kind of infections?
Urinary tract infections.
What else? Respiratory infections. Systemic or just whole body infections. New surroundings. Like they've been put in a new facility or they just got out of the hospital. Remember us talking about that?
Yeah.
Other than confusion, the next one that they mention here is delusions or delirium, I guess. Delirium is like confusion, but it's a little more severe, okay? It's usually short-lived. Okay. Then confusion, and it's short-lived. See what else it says here about it. Same things can cause it. So what are some of the signs and symptoms of confusion? Well, just because a patient is combative about getting into the bathtub or taking a shower or taking the medicine doesn't mean that they're just being grumpy or they don't want to do it. They may not understand why you're in there bugging them, or why are you trying to goad them into doing something? So if your resident's acting agitated, being combative, being non-compliant, saying crazy stuff like "I'm going to sue you" and "I'm going to divorce you," stuff that you don't really understand why they would be saying,
Yeah.
could be because of confusion, right? You can't take that stuff personal when they're acting up. Okay, don't take it personal. Sometimes they'll use foul language, right?
Yes.
They might accuse you like, "Last night somebody came in my room and beat the crap out of me," when really it was two aides in there waking them up to change their brief, every 2 hours like they're supposed to, and they don't know why people are coming in the room at night and getting them naked and cold, and I would be upset if somebody's doing that to me. So you can't take that so personal when you hear it. Now, dementia is the term I was talking about that everybody kind of gets confused. It is not normal. Okay. Now, decrease in cognition is it's okay. It's normal to be a little more forgetful when you're older, right?
Yes.
I would make sure we all know what this word cognition means. Do we say, we can say somebody has a developmental disability, like maybe they might have mental retardation or autism, spinal bifida, something like that. But we really don't say those words anymore. One of the more accepted words nowadays is cognitive deficit, okay, or cognition deficit, cognitive impairment. This is your ability to think and reason right here, make decisions. So this is normal, this is not normal. What causes dementia? Well, anytime you see a diagnosis for dementia in a patient's chart, when you're looking at the care plan, it will say like dementia related to cerebral vascular disease. And maybe they've had hardening of the arteries in their brain or many strokes that's caused enough problems to where they have signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's, or they're confused, but it's a result of another type of disease. There's kind of argument whether dementia can be an actual diagnosis or is it just something that happens because of another disease. All right, Alzheimer's disease can be a source of dementia. Huntington's disease. I had a patient with Huntington's, one of my first patients. This is a neurodegenerative disorder, usually affects later in life, like 30 years old. It's carried on the X sex gene. So like if mom has it, that means whoever she gives birth to, whether it's a boy or girl, is going to have it because if it's carried on, they're going to get that X gene, right? One of the two she can give up. Parkinson's, everybody's familiar with that. Parkinson's may start out with just tremors, but eventually it leads to dementia or symptoms of dementia. You can even have hallucinations, stuff like that. Lewy body dementia. This is just like a plaque. Let me find the MRI picture of it here. So these little white bright spots that are shown up on here, they're not supposed to be white and bright like that, and it's because that tissue is giving off a signal in the MRI. It's like a shiny plaque type stuff. they can diagnose Lewy body. And Lewy body is a type of disease that usually shows up earlier in life. It's like more of more related to Alzheimer's. So why am I talking about this? Well, if somebody has an onset of a disease like this at an early age, they have a true disease that we can diagnose, and we can say, okay, they have A, B, C, and D. We call this Alzheimer's disease. Or they have A, B, and C. This is Huntington's disease. If somebody's 80 years old and they're starting to get a little squirrely, they've probably got dementia related to another disease, okay? And it's important to know that, because if it's dementia, it's probably everything that's going on up there. No faculties are working right. But if they have Lewy bodies and those plaques are usually, maybe they're just located in the frontal lobe here, then they might have great memory and reasoning skills, but they might have terrible moods because their moods are messed up by this plaque. And they may be hateful to you, but they don't even understand why they're being hateful. It's because that part of their brain is messed up. You know how we learn?
With mine, Justin, he's real good with me. He thinks when I come that I'm just his best friend, but with his wife, she's the mean one. He hits her, cusses her. You know, is that just part of it because she's the personal one with him all the time?
I don't know. She might have been nagging him for 30 years before you came.
May have, I don't know.
She's the one that was putting the clamp down on him.
I don't know. He's mean to her, but he's good as he can be when I come in.
I don't know. That's probably just part of his personality, you know. I forget what I was even talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was I talking about? Oh, the guy that's, you know how they discovered that your moods are coming from the frontal lobe, your affect and your personality? This guy was working on a railroad back in the turn of the century, in the 19th century. And he had an accident to where a railroad spike ended up going through his jaw and out his forehead here. And they took it out and he lived. They had to remove part of his frontal lobe. But after that, he was not the same joking guy. He was real hateful towards people. People would talk to him and he would just look at him like, why are you being an idiot? And they learned from that guy, they did a study on him, that was where your mood and your affect came from. You can look that up. So it depends. I mean, if it's on the left side, then they're not going to understand speech as well. If it's on the right side, they're not going to be able to speak very well, but they can understand it. Depends on what's going on up there. And when you understand a little bit about those diseases, then you can help communicate with them, help them discern what they're trying to say to you and manage them better, right? Alzheimer's disease can be a slow progressing. So sometimes they can be admitted to your facility to the point where they weren't able to make it to the bathroom in time. And then within 3 months, they're not able to even feed themselves. And then a lot of times it'll do like this. They'll come in at a certain level of care. They'll decline rapidly, and then they'll stay like that for a long time. And this could be the point where they were incontinent. This could be the point where there's no more ambulation. They can't walk anymore. Just depends. There's no cure for Alzheimer's. Medicines that slow it down really don't work unless you start them early in life. So what's some of the things you deal with? Your patient has Alzheimer's, Sharon?
Yes.
So what's it like when you go in to see him? I mean, does he know what day it is? Like, where's he at on the cognition level here?
No, he doesn't know. He thinks he's actually been brought back home to his house. Hospice is there too now. But he knows me when I go in. He calls me by name. But he thinks he's at the nursing home. Sometimes he thinks he lives under a bridge. He doesn't know his name. He's really gotten pitiful in the past couple of weeks.
How is he? What time are you there?
Afternoon part, like 1 to 4.
So does he start getting a little worse at 4 and 5?
Yes. As later the day gets, the more he's running away. He doesn't live there. He's leaving. Everybody's mean.
Okay. So all these patients dealing with those diseases, we kind of collect them under memory care. Something called sundowning.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
My patient had that. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's like sometime at like in the evening at twilight,
Mm-hmm.
Whether they can see the sun or not, patients start getting a little crazy. These residents are getting a little crazy. And it's actually a thing. It's called sundowning.
Yeah.
This time of day is the worst, and it's usually right around dinner time. It's shift change, and when everybody's trying to go around and get something done, people start falling, trying to run off the unit. They'll be making a mess somewhere, and so the best way to manage that is make sure you've got your patients, fed, taken care of, and dry, and occupied. Um, who's never heard of that before? Everybody's kind of familiar with that term. What about when he's saying, does he ever have to be like, he's saying something crazy like, I live under a bridge, Sharon? Are you like, yeah, okay, you may live under a bridge, but right now you're in the nursing home? How do you tell him he's completely wrong when he's talking about something?
No, I don't. I just go along with him, ask him, do you live in a tent? Or, I mean, I know it may be wrong, but I just don't try to irritate him. I just go along with him, say, well, what do you live in under that bridge? And he says a tent. He was in the service too, so I think he's thinking a lot of when he was out in the,
Sometimes you gotta live in their world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
if you don't go along with him, he gets really
Agitated.
irritated, and he gets real agitated, and he gets mad. So I just kind of go with him.
So Elizabeth, if I'm an old lady and I'm saying, who's watching the babies? I don't know who's watching the babies. I gotta go find them babies. They're out there somewhere. Are you gonna say there are no babies?
Mm-mm.
What's another response you could tell me? It's not a complete lie, fabrication, but it kind of helps me deal with where I'm at in my mind.
The babies are good.
Mm-hmm.
Those babies
Babies
are
are
okay.
They're okay.
Anybody else?
My client used to want to get up at like 3 in the morning and go to work. And the more I tried to tell him he couldn't go to work, it wasn't time yet, he would get frustrated. So I would just let him get up. He'd walk around, look for the bank. He thought he was at the casino. Like, he was so confused.
Yeah.
It's really hard
You'd say
emotionally, but I
Work's
tried
not
my
gonna
best
work.
not to, irritate him, because it just made it worse. He thought I was his wife. He wanted me to get in bed with him. Like, it was a whole lot
I
going
guess
on.
what the point I'm trying to get across is when patients are dealing with this type of episode, you don't want to
Right,
jar them by saying this is not, you're wrong,
right.
because then they're like, what do you mean I'm wrong? I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm going to work.
Exactly.
Say like, well, work don't start for another 5 hours. You can sleep in. I'll set your alarm for you. Or today's Saturday. We're gonna bring breakfast to your room. You don't have to get up right now and go down there when it's 2 a.m.
I would just tell him, you haven't had enough sleep yet, Mr. Carmen. He said, oh, I haven't. I said, no. He said, okay. I was like, lay back down. Okay. Yeah.
Reorient. That's the word I'm looking for. Reorient the patient.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2 a.m., Mr. So-and-so. It's not time to get up yet. Here's an example. A lot of patients I've heard a lot of times, I need to get home. I've got to clean the floors and go grocery shopping. I don't know who's feeding my kids. It says right here, ask the resident to tell you redirect them towards another direction. Well, where are you from? Where's your home at? What county you live in? Or were you a homemaker your whole life? What'd you do for a living? What was your home like? Redirect them or guide the conversation away from what they're focusing on. And sometimes they don't work. Sometimes you might need to say, hey, I need you to come over here and fold these socks for me. This is something we got to get done right now. Give them meaningful tasks. Okay. If they're doing something unsafe, like trying to get out of the locked door, right? You don't want to go up to them and be like, don't do that. Get away from there. That's just going to agitate them on, and
Yes.
they're just going to be like, I need to get to this door even more now. You can say, well, that's not the way out. You're supposed to, we're all gathering down here for games. Why don't you come sit with us for a minute? The more you act cool and natural, like it's a normal setting you're in, the more they're going to comply. People used to call me the Alzheimer's whisperer.
Mm.
Or like the horse whisperer, the baby whisperer.
Yes.
Whenever a patient was acting crazy, I'd just be like, I'd come up and I'd, you know, I wouldn't let them think I thought they were crazy in any way. I'd be like, hey, I see you trying to get out this door, but it's not going to open for a while. Why don't we just hang out back here until something else changes? You know, just act cool and calm with them. They'll feed off of the way you're looking and talking to them. What about doll care? I've always been conflicted about the old ladies with the baby dolls. They'll give them a baby doll to care for.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's been talk back and forth about, well, it's demeaning and it's not good. I think if it makes them happy and gives them meaning and purpose in their life, you should do it. There's usually a policy directive about it. I'm going to assume everybody knows not to overwhelm them with choices. You could say pick this shirt or this shirt. Common difficult behaviors. So make sure you're understanding if they're being agitated, okay? Find out why. Are they cold? People are usually either cold, hungry, wet, or soiled. It could be time of day, sundowning. What's some other things that can cause people to act up? How do you get when you haven't had enough sleep, Shelby?
Pretty irritated.
You're tired. We'll make sure you're getting plenty of rest. You can offer snacks. Play some music. You would be surprised how much that will help you manage a group of Alzheimer's patients. Just playing music, making a calming atmosphere. Playing an old radio show that nobody even knows what we're talking about, but it's from the 20s or something. I mean, you can look up a podcast and be like, oh, this is the news today, and it's like from 1920. Another sign and symptom, pacing and wandering. And it gives you the same reason something that can happen. Are they in pain? Bug on my desk. Okay, are they in pain? Do you need to go, nurse? I think they need some Tylenol. I believe their shoulders is hurting, and it's just causing them to be restless. Sometimes sleeping too much in the day can be a problem too. Are they constipated? Go look at your bowel movement log. Constipated. Have they not went to the bathroom in 5 days? Do we need to get the nurse in there and do something for them? Forgetting where to sit down, you might need to redirect them. All right, I think I've pretty much beat this chapter to a pulp here. Everybody hanging with me still?
Yep.
You all got lucky. There's no other classes getting to talk like we are.
Mm.
Reminiscing, validating is the word I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. Means giving value or proving. No attempt to reorient the resident to actual circumstances. If he's sitting, wondering like, oh crap, they just declared World War II. We just got bombed by Japan. You don't have to say, dude, this is 2020. Nobody's bombing Pearl Harbor. You can say, you know what? I think we're just going to be safe until we figure out, we get direction on what to do next. So until that time comes, let's just chill. We're not going to be running out there and do anything about it. You don't bring them back to reality. You kind of live in their world and point them in a better direction. Give comfort. It's very good. All right, chapter 6 is the one that the test is over.
Mhm.
Any questions? Any thoughts about that? I had one Alzheimer's patient. She was from Colombia. She was mean as a snake and did not speak English. So some of the skills I need you to focus on. Let me pull that test back up so I can point you towards some good directions here. We'll be done. I'm doing okay on my time here. About 20 more minutes. I'll leave you all alone, okay? So we talked about gate belt already. We talked about transferring.